Charlamagne, I'm so honored to have you here. Thanks for coming on My View.
Lara, thank you for having me. You did Breakfast Club. I had to return the favor.
Yeah, we're trying to reciprocate. I appreciate that very much. So look, we're 6 months into President Trump's second term in office. Now, I know you've been critical. You've had your bones to pick with President Trump. If you took his name out of it and looked solely at what has happened, the policies and the things that have changed around the world and in our country over the first 6 months, how do you rate his presidency so far?
I wouldn't give it a good rating. I am one of those people that suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. I think he is a threat to democracy.
Really?
I think that he led an attempted coup in this country. You know, he said he wanted to suspend the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election. At the least, that's just not a patriotic thing to say.
I don't believe that.
He absolutely said that on Truth Social.
I will look that up.
He did.
He wanted to suspend the Constitution?
He said we should suspend the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election. He said it on Truth Social, then said he didn't say it. So listen, I read Project 25. I'm one of those guys that's like, I don't know if he will necessarily leave. I hope he does.
What's going on, guys? Thank you for continuing to support the channel. I said, you know what? Let me try something a little bit different. I think from now on, shooting videos, I might just go with the polo. All right, the beard is not always going to look, tidy and neat, because then I got to take my sons with me to the barber shop. It ends up turning into like a whole 2-hour, 2.5-hour thing. We have Donald Trump and Charlamagne, the quote-unquote God, going at it for what's their latest installment in the back and forth between the two. Now, we know when President Trump was in office from 2016 to 2020, Charlamagne was very critical of every move that President Trump made. Then President Biden got in and Kamala Harris.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
You didn't hear anything from Charlamagne in terms of critiques. Now, as of the recording of the video, we're about a week past the 6-month mark of President Trump's second term. And ever since he got back into office, these Democrats and like the Breakfast Club and all these other extensions of the Democrat Party, they have been extremely critical of each and every policy that President Trump goes to do. The only play that they have left is to oppose everything that he does.
Well, Charlamagne, I'm so honored to have you here. Thanks for coming on My View.
Lara, thank you for having me. You did Breakfast Club. I had to return the favor.
Yeah, we're trying to reciprocate. I appreciate that very much. So look, we're 6 months into President Trump's second term in office. Now, I know you've been critical. You've had your bones to pick with President Trump. If you took his name out of it and looked solely at what has happened, the policies and the things that have changed around the world and in our country over the first 6 months, how do you rate his presidency so far?
I wouldn't give it a good rating.
Why not?
Simply because, the least of us are still being impacted the worst. Like when you look at something like, the big beautiful bill, that's something that, I'm going to benefit from because of the tax bracket that I'm in. But, there's going to be so many people that's hurt by that bill. And, anything that, takes away Medicaid from people and is going to put people in a worse financial situation than, they were previously in, I'm not for. And, he ran.
Real quick, does anyone know anybody that has been affected by the passing of the big beautiful bill? Anybody? Has everything in the bill even gone into effect yet? And then he's talking about people being cut from Medicare. I don't know if he said Medicare or Medicaid. Were these necessarily U.S. citizens? Were these people that needed to be on the health care, or were they people that were abusing the system? Because it's a difference if these were people, like we're talking about somebody's grandma that is on Medicaid that needs it to get her prescription meds and stuff like that. And then we're talking about somebody that's in their 20s saying that they have all of these ailments, receiving prescription meds to feed a habit or something. And I'm not saying everybody, but does everyone being cut from it necessarily need the service?
He ran on, the economy. He ran on saying that, grocery prices were going to be down, and,
That has happened.
No.
Inflation is trending down. And by the way, Medicaid,
No.
we want to make sure that people who are not actual recipients or shouldn't be getting Medicaid are off of Medicaid so it can actually benefit more people. There is good stuff in that bill, though. You have the 2017 tax cuts that are made permanent, and that really is
Tax
for
cuts
everybody.
For who, though? Right now, people are hurting, and he campaigned on immediate change, day one change.
And you don't think you felt
What president has been able to, as soon as they are sworn in, to start making changes? A lot of presidents, you don't even feel the changes from their policies until like 2 years down after their inauguration. And I'm sure Charlamagne knows that the inflation is coming down. All right. And how do I know? How should he know? How should you know? Go outside. Go out and about. See, is it like how they said it was going to be? Remember, even when Trump was talking about tariffs, they said it was going to be empty shelves. We wouldn't have any products on the shelf when we went to the stores. Somehow we all of a sudden forgot that. They said that everything was going to be unaffordable. Look at it. Go to places, see people out with their families, enjoying recreational activities. I know that's what I see.
any change. People aren't feeling change.
No.
Do you feel safer knowing that Iran will not have the ability to develop a nuclear weapon?
Iran?
Yeah.
Sure. I feel safe if you're telling me that a country won't have the ability to build a nuclear weapon.
Do you feel better knowing our borders closed?
Yes.
Okay, so there
Absolutely.
have been some
don't
good
get me wrong.
things.
There's certain things that I absolutely, understood. Like, as far as, border security. But I understood border security for different reasons. Like, people were complaining about the border because they felt like people were coming into, the country and, taking jobs away from people in certain areas.
All of this is under Biden. All of these pictures rolling.
But I want to see the criminals and illegal immigrants, actually deported. Not
Well, that's
people,
happening.
Not people who are here, trying to go through the process of being in this country legally. Like when you see.
He wants to see the criminals going first and the violent people, and I agree. But that's not it. It's not going to stop there. Once they get all of them out, it's going to trickle down. Eventually, people's abuelas and tias and, Lil Pablo and all, eventually they're going to go back too if they don't want to take the offers of the money and going back home and reapplying the right way. I'm not going to lie. If I wasn't in America, would I have taken it during the Biden administration? If I saw it right there in front of me? Probably. But the mere fact is that they came into the country the wrong way. And when you do things the wrong way, you don't get to stay and reap the benefits. Even if you are now trying to work a job and all that and, pay whatever taxes because it's just sales tax, even though Democrats will tell you all day up and down that they pay taxes.
People actually getting deported and getting detained, and they're actually trying to go through the process of being American citizens. That's not right.
Well, we're allowing those people to leave. They actually get money to leave, and then they get to reapply to come back here the right way. So,
But leave and go where?
they go back to their home country, and then they
What
get
if they've
to apply.
never? What if they've never even been to that country?
Well,
Yo, what is Charlamagne talking about? If they're from a country, how would they have never been to that country?
Haven't though. A lot of them haven't.
I don't know about
I've seen
that.
a lot of cases of people getting deported.
Let me ask you about how the Democrats have responded, though, in the first 6 months of this presidency. How do you rate their response? Because it feels like to a lot of people watching, they don't really have an alternative. And it's a lot of, we hate this because Donald Trump is trying to do it. What do you think of how they've reacted?
When you look at Democrats' approval rating in this country, when you look at Republicans' approval rating in this country, you see that Americans are just fed up with it all. Like, Democrats suck. We know that already, though. You know what I mean?
You know that already, but yet every single morning, especially during a campaign cycle, you get on your platform, The Breakfast Club, and tell your listeners that the Democrats are the better party for them. You heard it yourself. This is what it looks like to be on the Democratic plantation. This is what it looks like voting at a 90-10% Democrat. This is what it looks like.
Well, when I was on your show back in, I think it was October of last year, you told me that you would have been happy to have voted for Kamala Harris as the nominee for the Democrat Party. I want to ask you, do you still feel that way? Do you think she was the best representative and the best person for the Democrats in their chance to have a president this term?
Yes, I would have voted for. I did vote for Vice President Kamala Harris, but absolutely.
And this is what I'm talking about. Think about the alternative. And Charlamagne just said, in spite of what he's seen taking place over the last 6 months, and he's lived through the last 4 years, he's saying he still would have voted for Vice President Kamala Harris to become the president. Just let me know, what were her actual promises on the campaign trail? Please, what were they? She said that she was going to ban fracking. She said that she was going to tax unrealized capital gains. She said she was going to raise taxes. And Charlamagne is in a different tax bracket. He would be some of the ones having to pay more in taxes.
Because, I mean, if you look right now, she's looking pretty good, because a lot of the things that she said, President Trump would do, he actually did. And, I did a segment on The Daily Show, after he became president. I was like, prove people wrong. Everything that everybody is saying.
Yeah, Charlamagne. Kamala was so good, right? Let me tell you how good she was. She said she's not even running for governor in California. People are speculating to her running in 2028. And again, I say, please let Kamala Harris be the front runner for 2028.
So Kamala Harris, listen to this. She now says that she is not going to seek becoming governor of California.
I mean, she can do whatever she wants. I don't personally know if I would run for president if I was her. And if she does, she has to get a real connection with the people. I think that's something that she's always been missing. If you look at from 2020 to now, whenever you see her, it always seems like it's transactional, right? Like she ran for president, so she was trying to get, people's attention for that. Then she became vice president. Then she became the actual nominee. People have never seen the VP just out having a conversation, doing what she says she wants to do right there.
See, this is what I don't understand. Okay, and this is what I always see with these Negroes on this Democrat plantation. They know what the issue is. They know what the problem is, what she's not doing. And they're still willing to accept it because, God forbid, it's not, at least it's not Trump. God forbid it was President Trump. God forbid if he passed 100 things, if one of them could get some sort of accolade, some sort of praise that, hey, maybe he did the right thing. Because earlier, Charlamagne even said the Iran bunkers was a good thing, but he's not willing to say that was a good thing that Trump did because Trump did it. President Trump had a response for Charlamagne, so he took to his Truth Social account where he said, the very wonderful and talented Lara Trump, whose show is a big rating success, put racist sleazebag Charlamagne, quote unquote, the God. And then in brackets, why is he allowed to use the word God when describing himself? Can anyone imagine the uproar there would be if I used that nickname? Close brackets. And that's a fact. All right. If he called himself Trump the God, all right, when he makes a couple jokes and says that he might run for presidential election again in 2028, which I do think is just a joke and just trolling people, you see the response. But for years, Charlamagne's able to call himself a god. Trump goes on to say he's a low IQ individual, has no idea what words are coming out of his mouth, and knows nothing about me or what I have done. Like just ending 5 wars, including a 31-year bloodbath between Republic of the Congo and Rwanda, where 7 million people have died. Again, Democrats have been president during this 31 years. All right, I'm 34. That's almost my entire life. How come nobody else has decided to address this war? There was even a movie back in the day starring Don Cheadle called Hotel Rwanda, where they depicted what was going on there in Rwanda between the Hutus and the Rwandans. How come nobody ever did anything about that? And there was no end in sight. He didn't know that. Or India and Pakistan. Yeah, India and Pakistan were getting ready to go to war. And, less than 6 months, Trump was able to negotiate some sort of peace. Or wiping out Iran's nuclear capabilities, which is true. We heard about that with the bunker busters. Or closing the horrendous open border. Or creating the greatest economy where prices and inflation have come way down. And that's a fact. I don't know where you are. I just went grocery shopping yesterday, and I picked up some eggs. Remember eggs? You know how much I paid for a dozen eggs yesterday? Less than $2.50. I paid about $2.35 or $2.33, something like that. Less than $2.50 for a dozen eggs. So people going to tell me inflation isn't down? And where stupid and corrupt Joe Biden set the record for doing the worst job as president ever. This is absolutely true. Okay? For 4 years, we all saw it happen in real time. As Democrats stood in solidarity with everything President Biden did. They never opposed him. Okay, he opened up the southern border and was just allowing people to come in, told the feds stand down, shut down the Keystone Pipeline. They never questioned it. These same people that didn't have a problem for the last 4 years, every single day, they're on the newses, they're on their YouTubes and their social medias, and they're complaining about it. All of these heavy left-leaning content creators. How come you didn't have anything to say about how President Biden's policies were directly affecting people? Closing out, this was just the latest installment in President Donald Trump and Charlamagne, the quote-unquote gods, back and forth. I think that President Trump, as you could probably tell by the hat, I support him, and I think he's 100% correct. A lot of these, talking heads on these big platforms, they're just put there to push the same ideologies that they have been. Breakfast Club, as successful of a show as it is, it's notoriously left-leaning. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you think President Trump has been doing a terrible job, like Charlamagne said, and many others, that he campaigned on so many promises that he hasn't been able to deliver? People on the right say promises made and promises kept, but what promises have been kept? Millions of people kicked off Medicare. Millions of people kicked off SNAP and EBT, telling people that that they're required to go to work or school to receive benefits. Is this American? He's got places like the Stephen Colbert Show and Joy Reid Show canceled because they seemingly disagreed with him. Is this the type of fascist society that we want to live in, that some people voted for, that now people that voted for Trump are saying they regret voting for him? Or do you think, fantastic, President Trump, on what you've been doing, keep it up? 6 months down, we still have 3.5 years to fix the mess that the Democrats for the last 12 of the last 16 years have done. To the Trump administration, I say keep going. Foot down on the gas. No mercy to these people. They put you through hell ever since 2015. I say give them hell. They said no one is above the law, so no one, from Obama, a former president, right on down to a secretary working in Washington, D.C. No one is off limits. Promises made, promises kept. God bless America. God bless President Trump, his administration, and his family, and also you watching this video. Let me know whatever your thoughts are in the comment section. Till the next video, y'all, please be safe.